Beautiful, beautiful. Thanks. And you know what, Michelle, I always believe in good things also. So I believe that if we have the intention to change, then we can always change. And and then if I believe those leaders will be able to restore the connections for the teams, the organization, and that is foundation for us to make change in the world. So thanks for leading that. And I hope that your new book gonna come in soon, so that it's gonna be a footprint for us to look, to read, and to think, to apply. All right.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's where really I want to go next. That first book that I wrote, The Seismic Shift in Leadership, How to Thrive in This New Era of Connection.
Mm.
It really, the second title should be really How to Thrive in a New Era of Disconnection, because that's what I'm finding more and more. People saying, we haven't seen each other in 2 years. And now people are saying they still don't want to go back to the office. And I don't really know how in the world am I supposed to run a meeting. I was on a meeting recently where it was for 4 hours. And the people running the meeting didn't even give us a bio break. 4 hours in a virtual meeting without a bio break, and they just spoke at us. There were no visuals, there were no breakout groups, there was no way for smaller groups to have any sort of connection. We just sat there and we were spoken to for 4 hours. And those are the examples that I'm talking about when you talked about what does thinking mean to you. And I challenged you and said, well, I think everyone should be rethinking how we work and how we meet. And we can't just think that now, because our employees want to stay flexible and they want to still work either all from home or occasionally from home, we can't just run meetings in this transactional way, one way, talking to. You're going to lose people. You're not going to motivate them. So this new book that I want to start writing, this seismic shift in culture, I want it to be a workbook, because so much of my work now is spreading the message that, okay, we've identified there's a seismic shift. Command and control no longer works. It's not effective. We have higher expectations of how we want to be treated at work. We're not going to put up with jerk bosses. So rather than creating cultures of fear, we need to create cultures of connection. Yep. But then how do you do that? It's easy to say that, oh, yes, we do. We need to create cultures of connection. What does that look like? What does that feel like? What does that sound like? What do I do? And that's the book that I want to write, is a roadmap, kind of a toolkit, kind of a workbook to say, here's how you do it.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And Michelle, I'm gonna change the word thinking to the word rethinking forward. Okay, in this conversation, you've been meeting a lot of great people, great leaders. So how what did they do really different from others, so that they have the good rethinking process? Keep rolling over and over within themselves. Can you share?
Yeah, so and I love collecting data and stories and all of the leaders. I had a great coaching session today with the CEO of a hospital, and at the end of the year, I created a connection assessment for my leaders so that they could ask their direct reports, how am I doing? Do you feel seen, heard, valued, appreciated? How can I better connect with you? And so I've been reviewing all of the data. And it really is what I keep coming back to, and I don't have all the answers, but I've got some good questions of how do we rethink the way we show up? How do we rethink the way we own our calendars? How do we rethink the way we meet? So we now know what doesn't work is being spoken to on a Zoom call for 4 hours. That doesn't work, right? So what we're hearing from people is, rather than having a formal meeting every 2 weeks with all of us where we go to the conference room, if you even have the opportunity to meet in person, we show up in the conference room and we all, represent our divisions and we give updates. Well, maybe there's a better way to do that. Maybe it's a little bit less formal, a little bit more like, let's have twice a week, let's have a huddle over coffee, standing up. And let's just go around and give us updates and tell us as a team what we can do to support you. What do you need? How can we support you? What do you have going on? Give us updates, and how can we remove the barriers for you? So I'm seeing that things are just becoming less formal But again, you have to reimagine and rethink. I'll give you another example. So
Yes.
one-on-one meetings keep coming up as a way to truly connect with your people. So a lot of my CEOs, the feedback they received at the end of the year through this connection assessment was, I want more one-on-ones. I'd like more time with you. Well, you can imagine looking at a CEO's calendar. It's pretty jam-packed. It's really hard to find time because they're supposed to organically round the hospital, to touch in with the frontline people, and they spend most of their time as CEOs in meetings. They don't even have time embedded to do the work that's necessary, right? So think about a CEO's operating rhythm, their calendar, and now they hear at the end of the year, bravo, you've done an incredible job connecting with me, but man, I sure would like some more time with you. So that was the big discussion today. How do you create more time? Well, it's all about rethinking and reimagining. So rather than these more formal 1 hour meetings where everybody gives updates, let's have more frequent, less formal ways to connect. And that's what I'm seeing, is really we've got to look at our calendars and figure out how can we find time in a deliberate, intentional way to connect with the key stakeholders we need to connect with in a little bit more informal, frequent time, where maybe it's just a huddle, maybe it's just a phone call. So one of my leaders, when she thought about this, she said, you know what, Michelle? She goes, here I tell all of my direct reports that those one-on-one meetings are for them. It's all about them. Yet I'm the one that I pick when I'm going to meet with them, where I'm going to meet with them, how long I'm going to meet with them, and how often. She said, it just occurred to me. So she said, at the end of the year, I sent out an email to all my direct reports and said, I just had this big revelation. I want you to tell me what works best for you. How would you like to connect with me? Do you want to meet for coffee? Do you want to only talk on the telephone once a month? Do you want to do it Zoom? Tell me what you need. And she said each of her direct reports had a different request. One was an extreme extrovert who has been home with her husband and 2 kids for 2 years and is ready to, meet people again in person. She's like, please meet me at a coffee shop. I just want to see you, because at this point they still weren't going back into the office. Another one said, look, you're a great boss, but I don't need to have a one-on-one sit down with you twice a month. Can we just talk on the telephone for 30 minutes at the end of the month? So everybody ended up having a different request. And I think that's what leadership connection is about right now, is figuring out what your people need to best connect and get the results that you're going for.